again, everyone. Welcome to 90s to Now. I am Jerry Strauss, and we try and introduce these episodes so many different ways, some more successful than others. But this time out, I mean, what else are we going to do, right? We're just going to go ahead and we're going to say, yes, in a 90s kind of world, we're glad she's here. She's with us. ERIKA ALEXANDER, you know her from Living Single. You know her from the Cosby Show, from so many different things. But now you know her from being here because she is here live in living color. ERIKA, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. It's nice to be here. I'm happy and I'm excited to talk today.
Thank you. We're so excited to have you. So I mean, and look, I get excited for all of our episodes and all of our interviews, and I always put out into the world, hey, this person's coming on the show, that person's coming on the show. But sometimes there's that extra special buzz where people are just so excited to get an opportunity to interact and throw some questions your way. Um, we want to talk about your current projects, but I just have to say right off the bat, and this is blowing my mind, 30 years almost the 30-year anniversary since Living Single came into our lives.
Yes.
Is that something that you can even wrap your head around? Because I'm having some trouble with that.
Life is like that, and time is a beast, and it comes upon you real quick. I can wrap my head around it because although yes, this year is the 30th anniversary of Living Single, it's next year's the 40th anniversary that I will have been in showbiz. So yes, that's right. So I'm just sort of looking at big sort of like chunks of my life, rolling in, and it's nice. It's like a tsunami. Get ready for it, or to drown you.
Well, look, let's go back to the beginning just super quickly because 40 years, that sounds insane to say out loud, to put out into the universe, but you moved to Philadelphia with your parents when you were around 11 years old, right? And then you were into acting within a few years from that. Is that something you've always wanted to leap into as a child? Because your parents weren't in the business at all, right?
No, they weren't in the business directly. My father was a preacher, though, and as far as I'm concerned, that's about as close as you can get to the business. You have an audience each week. You're performing on some level, even if it's for a religious purpose. And my mother sang. And they were a tag team that went around for a very long time as Bible students, and then eventually. My father, who was an itinerant preacher, Kojic, was discovered by the German Lutherans, and that's why we were in Philadelphia. They sent him to the Lutheran Theological Seminary in Philadelphia, and there I was. One summer, my mother thought, it might be good for me to have an activity. She couldn't do it for all of us. She had 6 kids, and it was my turn. And she sent me to Freedom Theater, and it was at Freedom Theater that a movie came to town and held an open call needing Black and brown girls. And when the smoke all cleared, it was me. So that's how I got into it. I had not thought about doing it as a child. It was just one of those things that came.
Wow. Unbelievable. Meant to be, some might say.
Yes.
But, we're going to jump around here a little bit, but, I'm curious because I first saw you. I think a lot of people first saw you on the Cosby Show. And I
Mhm.
didn't realize, I guess because I was so young, age is sort of a subjective thing when you're young and watching a show like that. But you were, what, like 21 when you got that role, somewhere in that vicinity. How big of a deal? Because, we're a few years into your acting now, but now this is like the biggest show on TV. What kind of a game changer was that for you as far as just, changing your life both practically and the passion for pursuing this career now?
Well, it was huge. Obviously, I had not been on television, and certainly not a comedic role like that, for a regular show. That was my first regular show comedy.
Mm.
Not drama. I had done dramas. I'd done many dramas. In fact, had already gone around the world, done a world tour, done a movie in Paris, come back, done 3 or 4 plays at the Public Theater in New York. Miniseries, all these things. By then, had even worked with Whoopi Goldberg. Um, but I had not done a comedy sitcom, and that was the hardest thing to get because, frankly, if you were a Black person or certainly a Black child, that was the only game in town.
Yeah.
beside maybe AB school specials. So it was huge. I don't know about so much about my commitment because to have had that much theater training, you had to be committed. You didn't do acting because you thought it was fun. It was a lot of hard work. It was travel. It
Yeah.
was a lot of sacrifice of the types of things that most young people would be doing back in the day. I wasn't doing it. I was on stage at nights, meeting calls, getting up early in the morning, learning lines, full-time job, 14, 16 hours a day over and over and over again. But it was significant because it was the biggest show in the world.
Yeah.
And there I was suddenly as a series regular. It was extraordinary.
Did you love that environment? Because, to your point, you've done so many different things from movies to, TV drama, all these different environments that you've worked in before and since. But now you're on the Cosby Show, which is the ultimate, uh, multi-camera sitcom
Yes,
situation, live studio audience.
yes.
And then just a few years later now, you're landing your way into living single, and now you feel so comfortable on that show from day one in that environment. Is that something you took to, like, very easily, just working in that spotlight?
I didn't take to it, Jerry, at all easily on the Cosby Show. I felt that I was bad at it, not funny. I didn't know what to do. I had come from theater and had done TV and also film, but never saw the two things put together. And so sitcom acting is, of course, the four camera setup
Mhm.
that's getting you in the front, and then you have a live studio audience. And so I was like, who do I act for? Them or the camera? And I remember asking the director was Ellen Falcone. She turns out her name now is Ellen Gittleson, and she was one of our main directors on Living Single. But then she was just starting, and she was the director who first directed me. And I asked her, and she said, the camera, course, because the director. And then I asked Mr. Cosby, and he said the audience because he's a comedian. Turned out
Right.
both were the right answer, and I just didn't know how to adjust or feel it. By the time I got my sea legs, it was over, and then Living Single comes up, and by that time I was like, I think I got this.
Yeah, you definitely got it by that point for sure. Um, so yeah, and then, thus starts a dynasty, a show that I think people love as much now as they do back then. I believe people are probably streaming it every single minute of every single day. Right now, it's available on Hulu. So before we get to that, let's talk about something else big time that just showed up on Hulu, where we can also see you. And this is a very different kind of project, but Wildflower is a film that came out last year. Now it's going to be, probably more readily available for people to check out because it's on Hulu. An American coming of age film is the is the description, but a really unique story about a teenage girl who grows up in a family with two parents who, in their own ways, are challenged, mentally challenged, handicapped, and sort of the challenges of trying to figure out how to evolve and grow and uh, embrace your own life while also dealing with the responsibilities of coming from that family. Huge ensemble cast, awesome ensemble cast. You're such a big part of it. What about the story kind of hooked you in the beginning? Because there's a lot to like here.
Um, well, the script was good. And I think an independent film, that's what attracts that type of cast, is everybody reads it and said, you know what? It may not be done for a big budget, but it should be done. And it deserves the best effort that everyone can get. And if you're invited to play it and lucky enough to get that invitation, you say yes, especially if you have the time. That's what keeps you very sharp as a performer, but also your instincts about material and feeling more in control about how you approach it. I have to say that Jana Savage did a fantastic job on the script. Matt Smuckler, it's his story, so of course he did too in the story. Matt Smuckler is the director, and it's his story, his wife's story. Is she has a sister who is has a mental challenges, and
Mm,
then married a man who did too, and then they had a baby who was in the so-called normal range
yeah.
of how we look at mental abilities. she ends up growing up with them, mostly parenting her, but she ends up starting to, in a way, also parent them as well. And when
Mhm.
it comes time to her to let go and sort of have her own life and go to college, she struggles. And Kiernan Shipka plays that young woman, and she's brilliant. The second movie I played with Kiernan inside of 2 years, and then we have uh, Dash Mihawk, who I worked with years ago, and in it as well, and also Samantha. Oh Lord, what's Samantha's name? Anyway, Samantha is actually has neuro, um, issues, and she's brilliant. And
Mhm.
so the whole cast was no joke.
Yeah, yeah, and that would be Samantha Hyde.
Thank you.
Um,
Hyde.
also, Charlie Plummer's in this movie, Gene Smart, Alexandra Daddario, Reed Scott,
Yeah.
yourself, of
Jackie
course.
Weaver, awesome.
Brad Garrett is in the movie. Like, it's just kind of wall to wall, amazing talent, and just this great family story. Just a story that I think you could sit down with anyone in the home and really get something out of this. So, really cool to
Great
see.
story, for sure. And we all love Juno and those types of things. And I think it fits right in that space. And Kiernan is like a really wonderful star for that. I mean, having grown up on Mad Men and then doing all the things that she's done and blossomed into a powerful actress who knows what she wants, but also gives herself over to these types of roles is very commendable. And I really love the way she's building her career.
Yeah, yeah. And certainly you could certainly be a blueprint for anyone looking to build an amazing and diverse career because again, we keep going back to it. You've done so many different things. Talk to us real quick before we don't want to let this go. You have another movie coming out just days from now, Earth Mama, from A24.
Mhm.
Um, different kind of deal. What tell us about Earth Mama?
Yeah, Earth Mama, another independent film by a new director named Savannah Leaf. It stars Tia No More and Dochi. It's a fantastic film. I'm in it, obviously, and we talk a lot about mothers, especially in community of marginalized communities, and it's about a group of Black mothers, and I should say one in particular who has to make a decision about whether she can take care of this one particular child she has, or she would like to adopt it out so she can get her life straight because she is overwhelmed and under resourced,
Mhm.
and it's a very difficult decision. I play the person who's helping her to try to guide her in this very difficult moment in her life. Tia Nomore, who has never acted before, is brilliant in it. People should see it. Dochi is brilliant. Brilliant. They are performers and rappers, both of them, and singers, but they haven't acted. So this is their debut and they kill it. Savannah Leaf had not directed a feature before. She kills it. A24 is known for fantastic films. So please go check that out. I think that's July 7th, and it'll be in certain areas, and then you'll see it go all over. And of course, Wildflower is on Hulu, and so is Living Single. So it's just all stacking up.
Just do a marathon. Just, it's hot out, man. It's the summer. Tuck yourself away for the weekend and just binge Erica
Yeah,
all weekend long,
a
people.
binge. Do you know it's a hashtag? Yeah, love it.
Well, listen, I think people have been binging this show for the last week since we announced that you were going to be on the show because they are going deep into the world of living single and pulling out some questions and factoids and stuff. They want to know, and it's not just about you, Erica.
Mhm.
I mean, you understand this because
Yeah,
you've probably heard from fans for 30 years. Maxine, the cat, these characters are real people to these fans. They
this-
love these characters. So,
yeah, I don't exist. I'm just carrying her fate. You understand? Who am I?
dude, it's an existential crisis right here on 90s to now. We're going to dive into it right now. You want to zoom through some of these questions?
Let's do it. I love it. I'm looking forward to it.
All right. There's one question that we were asked more than any other. I'm going to save that one because this one kind of surprised me, but I got to save it because
Okay.
I want to see if it's something that you would have on your mind as well as a commonly asked question. But let's go here. Bet Stewart. Oh, nope, that's the one we have to save. I'm sorry, Bet. We're going to save your question. But Sophie Barnes,
Mhm.
Here's a simple one. What was your favorite scene on Living Single? If you could pick out one scene that sort of
That's
this.
That's tough, 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 because I was always surprised at what would become a really great scene. We're often rehearse, and then that's just with the network and or the writers, and then the audience would come in and make the scene totally like roll and rock and do all sorts of things. So um, I have a few, but you know, I love the scene on the rooftop where both Max and Kyle are feeling awkward after they've had their little liaison, and it's a secret between them. They haven't told their friends, and they're about to. That's a great scene because it has a built-in suspense, and for comedy that really works well because the audience and the two characters know what's up, but everyone else there does not. And I love that the audience knew that they were in on it, so they were cracking up, and we had to hold so long for laughs. Obviously, I just have to say my second scene that I love, of course, is the Flavorettes. The Flavorettes were off the chain, and so when Max, the singer, has to do the lead and falls off the stage, that's my favorite parts because it's physical and the audience ate it up.
Cool. J.R. Gibson, can you ask her what took Max so long to tell Kyle she loved him? That's a big question. That's
Did he watch the show?
I know.
I mean, what took so long is that Max was mean. I'm sorry, Max was mean too. Kyle was mean. Kyle was mean, and
Mm.
Max, what you give, you get to keep. So she gave it back. I think that she, of course, in all seriousness, is a problem with intimacy and feeling vulnerable. And for all that she had accomplished in life, she hadn't worked that muscle that much. She didn't want to capitulate. And it felt like, I think for her, that she would lose a part of herself and she didn't know how to be that person. And I think they were negotiating it. So there you
Yeah.
go.
Lola Beans, several questions. We're gonna pick this one. What was her fitness routine like as Max? Now, this is interesting because Max was ripped, right? I mean, Max was,
Ah,
but was that? I mean, I'm curious about that too. Was that you informing uh, Max's level of commitment to fitness, or was that kind of on the page that's part of who Max was?
well, let me just set this straight right now. That was me informing her level of physicality. I came in the door. I'm an amateur athlete. I'm in no way a professional, but I worked out since I was very young. And as an actress, you do that so you can have complete control of your body and your facilities. It keeps you sharp. But at that time, I had started running with a trainer. She was an Egyptian. I wish I could remember her name. She was so wonderful. We used to run in the mornings, and then I'd go to work. I wasn't a big jogger, but that's what I do. And then I also did a lot of strength training. Then I got with AJ Johnson because AJ Johnson was like, I told her, I said, I have a little bit that I want to work on, and I never can seem to push past it. She said, you need to work on your eating. That was the first time I realized that perhaps eating was a part of it. I wasn't a bad eater, but I wasn't the best. But I worked out, and so it kept it at bay. And she set me down. She had me have a sit down with Michael Jai White, the actor, that everyone knows, and he got me on, the straight and narrow, and made me not only eat more often during the day, but very specifically lean proteins and vegetables as often as possible. And next, thing you know, my body said, and it was like no joke. But that was me, Erica, and it was really good fun to say that at that time I was looking Wakanda fresh.
This is a great segue here. Sherlockian theorist would like to know. I'm curious about how she was eating in practically every scene when others were not. Was it a medical thing? Um, what I mean, was that part of the diet? Were you eating carrots and celery all day, or
These
what?
questions are hilarious. Okay, no, it wasn't a medical thing, although it could have been. Maybe I had low blood sugar and didn't know it.
Mm,
There were times that I was in a lot of scenes as a character and had nothing to do, nothing.
mhm.
And so the props people would come over and say, Erica, what do you want to do with your scene? You want your briefcase? You want to look at some files? I said, yeah, bring that. Or, you know what? Bring me something to eat too. And then they would find something that I would eat or eat. And what would happen is the camera would pop onto me for reaction. So, you're holding for laughs and reaction. I'd be, and that would be an accent onto, and of course the audience would eat it up. So then they started building it in. By that time, I wanted to do less of it. And then I was like, no, I don't want it. So I was like at odds with how it worked out. And I didn't even know that it become a thing. I just was trying to be busy on the stage so I didn't look like I was homeless, just hanging out.
All right, I'm going to ask you these questions back to back because they're two more big ones. Belle Rain Noir would like to know, what was your favorite Maxine Shaw quote? And Donna Kelly would like to know your favorite episode. So two different questions covering a lot of ground. Do you have a favorite quote and or episode?
Wow. It either have to be Ride the Maverick, which I said when I was running for alderwoman. Ride the Maverick. Maxine Shaw, attorney at law. I like Maxine Shaw, attorney at law. Guilty, innocent. I mean, that little ditty she did when she was feeling good. I love that. Don't touch me unless you want to get burned. That was cool. That's an Yvette Lee Bowser line from the first episode that we ever did, which was the pilot, and that was kind of fun. But I do like Ride the Maverick, and the reason I like that is because everyone screams at me when I'm going down the street. I want to clear up something here right now, that she had not been the Maverick. I was the Maverick, ERIKA ALEXANDER. I'm from Arizona, and I had been calling myself the Maverick and had even a company called Cimarron at the time, because I was like, I'm the Maverick, and that's what I was ERIKA ALEXANDER Great as the Maverick. And I think for fun, the writers probably got a kick out of me going around talking, oh, how's the Maverick doing? And someone wrote it in as her tagline for running for alderwoman. And, I let it fly. And now it's become her thing. She is the Maverick. So I love that. What was the next question?
Favorite episode, Maxine. Favorite episode for Maxine.
Favorite episode for Maxine is, gosh, there's so many. There are a few really great ones. For Maxine, maybe the one with CCH Pounder, a little bit that you find out who she is. I fought them tooth and nail. I did not want a parent. They got CCH Pounder, who had already played my parent in a miniseries called Common Ground. So how could I say that? We were already, related through that. I like it little for that because there was some small dramatic edge that was in there. But I really would love the one where the boyfriend comes back and she's feeling really weird about it, and she pulls Kyle in to be her man, and fake like their thing. That's really nice because it shows that she had insecurities about how she was coming off, and you don't really see that too much in her. And I just want to give one more shout out. It's not necessarily my favorite, but Harold Perrineau came in and played a JC character, Jesus Christ-like character that she had to defend. And that was a very difficult episode for me because I had just gotten married the previous day. And they wrote this really huge monologue. And I asked them, please, can you be a little light? I'm going to be very distracted this week. And that was not only the week that I had that big episode, that they would write all this dialogue. And just so you know, they would change lines in between scenes, on the breaks, and then also between the lunch audience and the dinner audience. And they gave me this brand new monologue that's almost 2 pages long. And I thought I'd have a nervous breakdown.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Yeah. So I just hunkered down and did it. And so I'm proud of it. So I'm proud of it for a few reasons, because it shows how much you can do when you trust that you've done the work, and also that you have another reserve and it can kick in and save you.
Gotcha. Now this one, interesting, maybe a tiny bit creepy. Bluesette Patton would like to know, when are we getting a spinoff for Max and Kyle? I have a script. So, and I want to tell you, Erika, I reached out to Bluesette. I said, do you have a script? Yeah, I wanted to get a dialogue going. I wanted to see this script before this conversation. We didn't get it done, but there's a script out there literally with your name on it. Is that something that, has there ever been a talk of some sort of a revival series for Living Single?
So Bluesette, thank you so much for applying yourself to that script. And the answer to your question is not as yet. I, to be clear, was the one when asked a couple of years back, what was I interested in? That I said definitely not. I was not that interested in it. Not because I don't love the cast or the character or anything. It's just that I've worked a really long time to have some space between the show and myself.
Mhm.
And I thought, you know, I'm good. And at the time, everybody that was doing a reboot seemed to be a direct reboot, and I didn't want to do that. I thought, is there some way that we can get the cast together and do something different, but with the same cast? I thought that would be great. But people would miss the characters. So, you know, maybe that's not such a great idea, but I loved it. Um, I might be open. There might be some crack in it. Maybe that's news on this show.
Mhm.
Little crack in there that perhaps, but specifically for Max and Kyle, um, I always thought that perhaps there would be something built for them when we were doing the show, but we were never asked.
Mhm.
Me and or TC Carson, and I think TC especially was looking forward to something like that, but it just didn't come up. And I think that people don't know that there are direct politics in the industry, and it doesn't necessarily map onto how popular you are, but especially inside of a container that maybe is not wanting to make room for a lot of diversity. And there were also limited time slots. I'll even say that you know it was prime time. There wasn't as much cable. You
Mhm.
only had a certain amount of spots on, and so every spot was, you know, being vied for by everybody. You know, every huge star, every comedian, and there wasn't that space then. But they also didn't plan for it or ask. So there you go. So maybe you have the clue to Max and Kyle spinoff. But I'm hoping for maybe a movie with Max and Kyle. That would
Hey, no matter what, I think Hulu is your first meeting because they are definitely in the Eric Alexander business. So anything you wanna suggest or pitch.
you ain't lying. You know what? Thank you for that.
Um, look, and, I can't believe time's gone so fast. We've taken so much of it. I wanna squeeze in just a couple more quick questions for you if we can.
Yes.
And the 2 most popular questions that we got, we wanna make sure that we ask them. Where do you think, we talked about a reboot or a revival. Where do you think all of those characters are today? Specifically, are you guys still are you married in 2023? And how is everybody else doing? If you just kind of go around the horn, where is everybody in life?
Well, this is my best guess because obviously I have no idea. But I would think that um, definitely Kim Cole's character and John Hinton, uh, Sinclair and Overton are married,
Mhm.
probably with kids, and he's probably built a huge house for them somewhere in Oregon and in Brooklyn. Why do I say Oregon? Because he likes the great outdoors. And down south where his family is, he probably has a barbecue pit or something that he's made famous, and is really rich. It's probably rich as hell, but they still live very simply and with trolls around the garden. Khadijah is probably still that publisher, but that magazine is probably now very huge and stands to deliver a point of view that the world grew into, and now has different subsidiaries as a media mogul. She's probably still tired and still a little frustrated that she's given her life over to having so much work in it. But I think she's found a balance, and now she's moonlights as a monk at night. And I said, how could she be a publisher and a monk? Well, she does it because she is Khadijah and she's played like by Queen Latifah. And so she probably went on some real spiritual thing and came back and is divided and hasn't really merged the two. So that's what I want to say, that she hasn't merged the two.
Wow.
Regine, as played by Kim Fields. That hairline is probably a cash cow, but the warehouse probably burned down and she got sued. All that artificial hair went up in smoke, burned down 3 blocks, and now she's a pariah. She goes around now trying to atone for it by doing good works, but everybody sees through that. And so she too is seeking solace, but she's also countersuing and waiting for that to come through. She's been married twice, only twice, and she has um, 5 kids. She has a whole mess of beans in that oven.
Wow.
And she even might have maybe married her big crush, played by Sean Baker, Russell. So maybe that would be cool that she didn't go for the big money. She went for the Jamaican in the room. Okay, and then now Max and Kyle, where are they? I think if Max isn't in Tijuana, stuck in jail somewhere trying to get, then she is definitely a CEO and or took a corporate job. Why? Because I think she had gone the alderwoman. She was a public defender. And I think she probably opted for the money because she probably figured out that money rules everything. And she could probably do all of those things, influence politics, be a philanthropist and all those things by having more of it. That's complicated her life only insofar that the child that she had with TC's character, Kyle, had to share her. And that was always going to be the case. TC's character, Kyle and Max, I think they still love each other in their own way, but they have not resolved their power struggle.
Mhm.
And that's only gotten worse because TC, of course, being a very frugal and very strong-minded business person, entrepreneur, but also financial whiz, did very well for himself. But he over-invested in NFTs. And so now it is a wrap for some of the money he has, and he has some shady people after him looking for payback. And Max has to get him out of that. How do you like that?
I sense you've thought about this before.
I didn't think about it. I just did it just for you. I did think about it. I've never said that.
I look, we like you very much. I don't know if I can believe that.
You can believe it. You can believe it. You can believe it.
Well, listen, I don't know if we need the revival anymore. I feel like we've just lived through.
You just lived through it.
It sounds amazing. I mean, look, if this thing ends up actually happening in any way, shape, or form, I'm going to be so excited and proud to go back and watch this episode.
Please. Because what will happen is that they'll all meet. And I think that they should all meet in some place where they'll become themselves and find themselves. And that is Africa. And that is the reboot.
Wow. I'm sold. I'm sold. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Let's do it.
Well, and again, Erika, I can't believe we've covered this much ground in the time that we had. So thank you so much for that. Thank you for everything.
Thank you.
I also can't believe that, we're here to talk about Wildflower on Hulu. Yes. We're here to talk about Earth Mama coming out in just a few days. We're here to talk about this amazing, diverse career that you've had with all these different dramatic roles and all these accomplishments. And I can't believe it's all about to lead to this final question, which was the most asked and discussed and debated question on social media leading up to this interview.
Okay.
I'm going to give the credit to Bette Stewart. She was the first person who initiated this, but a lot of you guys out there want to know, when Naughty by Nature was on Living Single, what did Treach whisper in your ear that that you said was too freaky even for Max? What? People have been imagining what that could have been, apparently, for the last 30 freaking years. What?
I think it was this. That's what I think it was. I think it was goobly goop nonsense, meaning he just moved his mouth, showbiz terms. This is what it looks on this side, but on this side, the audience. You see what I'm saying?
It's going to be a lot of disappointed people out there.
I know. You know what, though? I'm going to rectify that. I think he said, I want to suck your toes.
We've had, I'll put it out there, we've had Treach on the show before. And we tried to reach out to his camp to try to get a quick answer before this interview. We weren't able to get that done. But
Okay.
You know, hopefully at some point we can get him back on the show and maybe we can get his point of view about this and this can
Yeah.
kind of continue the saga.
Let's
Uh,
let's let's do it because I might
let's
have misremembered.
well, look, I think that's just an example of just how beloved and how well remembered, you know, every one of these classic moments from Living Single continues to be. And I think this conversation is just gonna fan the flames, so to speak. I think the buzz is
You know what? And I want to say thank you to everybody who's ever supported the show and or me. It has been a great 30 years. We couldn't have gotten that far, even while we were filming it, without the love of our audience and our fans and our friends. We call it our family. And it was the reason why we stayed on to at least the 5 seasons through. It was the reason why we number one show in Black and Latino households for 5 years straight from our first day. And it's also the reason why we're not only beloved, but we're greeted so warmly inside of whether it's restaurants, houses, streets, educational institutions. I've gotten so much, I want to say, strength from it, building and trying to create opportunities for differently looking creators, whether it's disabled, ageism, different demographics, gender, race, and also geography. Color Farm Media is my company, and for people who've helped me build that, you can see the type of work we do. But it's because of you, and it's because of that support. And you don't. It's not something to be taken for granted because shows come and go, and fads come and go. But it's not. It's truly because of the love of the people who embraced it. So from my heart, I want to say thank you and thank you for this interview because it really matters that I get the chance to talk about the other things I'm doing, but it's always a pleasure when I get to, you know, have these conversations that bring out back so much good memories
mm,
and remind me that how life is good. Life is very good.
yeah, and the feeling is absolutely mutual. It's been so great to talk to you about past, present, future, everything that you've done, everything you're doing. It's great to look back. It's even better to look forward. And we're going to continue to do all that as we continue to binge all things Erica
Thanks,
and
Erica, on Hulu for now uh, and in theaters.
everywhere, every screen, small to every size screen. You're there, and we can't wait to see what's coming next. And
Yeah.
you know, it's been
Fall.
great.
The fall's gonna be something else. The fall is gonna be out of yeah, that's gonna be all that. And go to
Okay.
farmmedia.com and join us and check that out because I'm building there as well. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you guys for checking us out once again this time on 90s to now. And we'll see you guys next time. Thanks, Erica.
Thank you. Ciao.
Yeah.
Ride the Maverick.